Hello, I'm Nora, and welcome back to Novels with Nora. As we approach the end of the year, we also move into the holiday season, and for me, this year, that means that I want to read some holiday romances. Every year, I tell myself, okay, when Christmas and like the end of December rolls around, I want to be reading holiday romances, and every year I don't do that because I just get caught up doing other things and like reading just like my normal things. But this year I am prioritizing actually reading some holiday romances. So I have a stack of physical things checked out from my library, as well as a list of other things that I can get through Libby and Hoopla. And I'm just going to spend the next few days slash week reading some holiday romances and finding what I like. I don't know what I really like in romance, which is a task that I'm undertaking in the new year, is to find what I really like in the romance genre. But especially in holiday romances, I don't know at all what I like, because the only like holiday book that I've read is that short story collection Let It Snow, and I read that like 3 years in a row. That was like the only thing that I read. And so we're kind of like starting from scratch. I've compiled a list of things that I think might work for me, but again, I have no clue because I don't read a whole lot of romance, so I don't even know what of like the romance genre I like. So this video is going to kind of help get my feet wet into that, and then in the new year I have some plans to really help myself figure out what I really enjoy in the romance genre. So that being said, let's just dive right in with the things that I will hopefully be getting to in this vlog. Starting with the physical items I have checked out, I have Love You Alatka by Amanda Elliott, which is actually a Hanukkah romance, and I think this one is fake dating, I believe, and I just really love the cover of this. That's really what drew me in. Also, I want to have like some diversity in this list and not all Christmas. I want to have other holidays as well. So I picked up Love You Alatka, and again, really love this cover, and all I know about this is that it's fake dating set around Hanukkah, not Christmas. Then I have I'll Get Back to You by Becca Grishow, and I actually have no clue what this is about. Oh, this one actually looks like it is new adult because it says settling into her junior year at the University of Illinois. Okay, all of these I have read the descriptions for at one point and was interested enough to get them from my library. So at one point I did know what this was about enough and then was interested enough to pick it up. So we have I'll Get Back to You. Then we have a book that I've been telling myself I will read during the holidays for the past several years, and that is Make the Season Bright by Ashley Herring Blake. I have read I think only one other thing from this author, and I remember really quite enjoying it, and she writes mostly, I think, only sapphic romances, and again, love this cover. This one follows a musician, I believe. I think this one actually follows them as they used to be married, or like were on the brink of getting married or something, so this one I think is second chance romance, and I do think that I'm definitely going to get to this one because I've been telling myself I will for the past few years, and actually have been on the brink of buying this book a few times just because I genuinely love this art style so much. I just really like how the characters are depicted like so beautifully. I really, really love this cover. And then I have Kiss Her Once for Me by Alison Cochrane, which this is like, at least in my understanding, like a classic sapphic holiday romance. Every year I see this one recommended, and I actually see a lot of people recommending this one like year round, not just during the holidays. And this one also has character illustrations, and this one I also believe is second chance slash potentially fake dating. I think this one has both, but we'll see. This one I also think I really want to get to because I see it being recommended so often, so we'll see about that. And then the final physical copy I have is Love in Winter Wonderland by Abiola Bello, and this one is young adult, not adult, so I imagine this one will be quite different. And also this one features 2 characters of color, which is exciting to have some more diversity in the shelf. I find that so many holiday romances are like, even just finding these sapphic ones was kind of hard. Most of them are straight romances written by white authors featuring white characters, so I was really excited to find this, especially at my library. And being YA, I think this one would be a good one to read as well, because this one also is set at a bookstore. So I think this would be super fun. And again, the cover, stunning. So those are the physical books that I have. But then I also have made a list on my iPad of other things that I can get through Hoopla or Libby through my library. And on that list, I have A Pack for Winter, Mistletoe Motel, Good Spirits, 'Tis the Season for Revenge, The Nightmare Before Christmas, The Christmas You Found Me, Let Your Hearts Be Light, The Most Wonderful Crime of the Year, and Royal Holiday. So I have a lot of options, and I know I'm probably gonna want to listen to one of these on like the audiobook version just while I do like other holiday crafts or like baking and things. So I do think that I've just decided right now that I'm going to start with Make the Season Bright, just because I've been telling myself I'm going to read that one for so long that now that I have a physical copy, we really need to just like get to it and read that one. But from there, I don't know what I'm going to do next or what I'm going to be in the mood for, so I guess we'll just have to stick around and see. I wish I had festive decor over here, but unfortunately I do not. But I am about 50% through Make the Season Bright right now, and I am having such a fun time with this. Like, It's really giving holiday, which is exactly what I wanted. So this follows our two main characters, Charlotte and Brighton. And Charlotte is part of a string quartet, and she lives in New York, and she is like really dedicated to this quartet. Like, it is her entire life. It's been her dream. Like, this is all she's ever wanted for herself, and she's finally achieving it. And so she's like very one track mind. This is what matters to her. And then we have Brighton, who lives in Nashville, and she has only ever wanted to be a singer-songwriter, but she was part of this band like trio, but then they brought in a new lead singer and she kind of got kicked out. So now she's kind of just floundering and she's not really sure what to do with her life. And plot twist, these two actually used to be engaged, and something went wrong on their wedding day, like the day of their wedding. Like, they had planned everything, they were at the altar, and now they haven't spoken to or seen each other in 5 years. Come to present day, they both of their plans for Christmas fall through. Charlotte does not have the best relationship with her mother because she's very narcissistic and absent, while Brighton has a fantastic relationship, especially with her mother, and they're from the same like small town. And so usually Brighton goes back to her family, but her mom is like off in France doing some big beautiful thing. So both of them are without Christmas plans, and Charlotte could not care less. She's like, I'm just going to focus, I'm going to recite, I'm going to like dig deep into my music. But they both have best friends, and their best friends happen to be sisters, and they're like, oh, you should come home to Colorado with me for Christmas. Like, our family does this like huge Christmas celebration. Like, I can't let you be alone. So Charlotte's entire string quartet end up going to Colorado along with Brighton, and they don't obviously know that each other is going to be there, but they end up in this house together. And not only do they end up in the same house together for Christmas, but their friend's mom has signed them up for this Two Turtle Doves like holiday like speed dating event, where all throughout the season there are different like holiday themed dates that they have to go on in like these big groups, specifically for like queer people in this small town, so they can all get to know each other and like hopefully find like romance. And so it's super fun because we're seeing them like struggle to like, they want to reconnect and like talk through what happened, but they're both so hurt by the other and like by themselves truly that they don't really know how to go about having those conversations. But we're also seeing them do all of these fun like holiday, like they did like a speed dating cookie decorating event. They did like horseback riding through like the winter wonderland that is Colorado, ending with like hot chocolate and like all of these fun like holiday events that are just like so seasonally appropriate and just so wonderful. But then we're also dealing with like a lot of heavy emotions because they both have a lot of like emotional trauma from what the other did to them and like their own role that they played in the downfall of that relationship. So I'm having a great time with this. It is a bit heavier than I wanted, but I'm having a lot of fun with like the friend group dynamic of everyone, and then also the like seasonal like dating events that we're getting. There was like a Christmas movie trivia, the cookie decorating thing. Like, there's just been a lot of like really fun things going on that kind of help to bring some levity to the story that I'm really enjoying. And I'm also really liking Charlotte and Brighton as characters, and I'm really enjoying their relationship with each other. However, now that I am at like the 50%, it's getting to the point where it's like, we need to sit down and have a conversation. Like, this is one of my least favorite things about romances, is that it's like, I feel like so many of their problems could be solved by just having a conversation and just like talking it out. And so now that I'm like this far through, I'm like, we need to have that conversation, because that's going to like really be able to help them rebuild a foundation for the eventual relationship we know they're going to have. So if that doesn't happen soon, I'm just going to start getting agitated. So I hope that comes soon, but I'm still having a lot of fun with this. That being said, I have recently become obsessed with playing games and coloring on my iPad, and I wanted an audiobook to listen to while I was doing that. And so I was looking through my list of holiday romances that I was interested in, and I found one that was an audiobook, and it was A Pack for Winter. And I was like, oh, perfect, my library has it, I'll put on this audiobook, it'll be good. Now, I don't know if this was on me for not realizing what I was getting myself into, and I'm sure that's part of the problem. However, I thought that this was just like a cozy small town romance. I knew it was Omegaverse. I knew that. So I knew that there was going to be like a decent amount of smutty scenes, right? But the name of the series is Cozyverse. And even like the cover, it's giving cozy. And so I put on this audiobook. Mind you, I only had the audiobook. So I was listening to this 10-hour audiobook. I wasn't reading it. I was hearing all of it, okay? So this follows our main character, Ivy, and she is a struggling teacher. She does not have the resources she needs in order to really be the best teacher that she can be, but she's really like pushing herself to her limits to try and do everything for her students. And like, it's very sweet, very endearing. However, we also have the pack that she falls in with, because she is an Omega. Everyone in her family is a Beta, so she is kind of feeling a little bit out of place, not really sure what to do. She just kind of got out of like a toxic relationship that like really didn't work and leaves her like questioning her worth as an Omega. Anyway, there's a teacher at her school, Rome, that she is kind of always thought was like kind of attractive, but never really did anything with because he is bonded to a beta, James. And so they're together. But then there's also this other like brooding, mysterious, like handyman guy, Logan. And she kind of has a thing for him too. And she ends up going into heat while she's in her classroom, and these three men are there and they take care of her. And from there, I realized this is not going to be what I thought it was. This book was 90% spice scenes, which is fine. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. It's just not at all what I thought I was getting myself into, because I thought that I was reading like a cozy small town Omegaverse. I did not realize that there was very little plot and like all sex scenes. And again, maybe that's on me for misunderstanding what I was getting myself into, but I just really was not anticipating this. And I did read the whole thing. I finished it in one sitting, because once I started, I was like, well, now I'm just like caught off guard and just very confused, but also intrigued, okay? Because this is my first Omegaverse read, and I really liked the characters. Ivy as a character was very interesting, and I really liked following her. She was a very complex character. However, this is not cozy in the slightest. The series name lies, because even though we have like the small town aspect where like everyone knows everyone and we have like these fun like small town events, it's not cozy, because as she's a teacher, like coming to like the end of like winter break, she is so overwhelmed and stressed, and she doesn't have the resources she needs, and she's just trying so hard, and she's kind of like a pushover. She like lets everyone walk all over her, and it was stressful to read because it's like she just is like on the edge the entire book, where like she has no time for herself. She is pushing everyone away. Like, it was not a cozy read. It was so stressful. And then also the relationship dynamic didn't really work for me, because like I said, Rome and James are already bonded, so like they're a couple, and then they bring Ivy in as their Omega, but then they also bring in Logan. But Logan, to me, this only works if they're all boyfriends, right? And Logan is not. I believe that Rome at one point explicitly refers to Logan as his pack brother. That didn't work for me, because then Logan's kind of just like there. He doesn't really add anything to the story other than like nothing. Like, I can't think of anything. He was my personal favorite character though, because I liked his more insecure, like he's a bit older than the other characters, and he even says at one point to Ivy, like, I'm not as in shape as them, like I'm not as young as them, and she's just kind of like, oh, whatever. And so I liked him. He was a much more complex character than James and Rome, but he just like didn't really fit. Like, the dynamic of the four of them didn't really work for me. So I did finish it, but I gave it 2 stars because I didn't love it. And again, I thought I was getting like a cozy small town romance with like between like 6 and 8 sex scenes. And what I got was 90% of the book was smutty time, and there was very little plot. But the plot that I did get, I did enjoy. It was just a little disappointing, and I will not be continuing on in this series. But that means I have read, now at this point, 1.5 holiday romances. And I feel like I don't really read a whole lot of romance. So this is kind of like a good exploration for me to like find what I like in romance and just set in a holiday time. And also this one really did not have a lot of, like, granted, it didn't set out to be like a holiday romance. It was just like set in the winter. And so Christmas does occur in here. It's just like a very small part of the novel. And also I just feel like it could have been set in any season. Like, it being winter didn't really have that much of an impact on the... Anyway, if you're into the Omegaverse, this might be for you. I don't think it was. I know it wasn't for me, and I'm not sure that means that the Omegaverse isn't for me, or this book specifically just wasn't for me. But anyway, going from that back to this felt like a breath of fresh air. This is like, I'm much more of a contemporary romance girly, I think. So I'm excited to get back into this. And I do think that I will pick up an audiobook as well, just because my coloring app that I have on my iPad, Happy Color, they have a whole bunch of different Christmas coloring pages, and I've been absolutely loving them. And so I would love to have an audiobook to listen to while doing that. So I will probably pick something up soon to listen to while coloring. But that's where I'm at for now, and so I'm just going to continue with this, and when I eventually and inevitably pick up an audiobook to listen to while coloring, I will update you. come to my living room in an area that you've never seen before so that you can see our beautiful Christmas tree. Today is the only day until January that I will be like having the house to myself. So I thought what better way to utilize that than to sit on the couch in the living room with the Christmas tree in the background and update you on finishing Make the Season Bright and starting my next read. So yes, last night I finished Make the Season Bright, and honestly, it was really disappointing. I feel like I had been hyping this book up for so long. Since it came out it was like 1 or 2 years ago, I'd been really wanting to read it because I've read from Ashley Herring Blake before and like had a good time with it. And also I just love this cover. And so I was really looking forward to reading this, and I'd been putting it off for like years, or maybe just 1 year, but I'd been putting it off and like hyping it up in my head only for it to then kind of be disappointing. And I think really my biggest issue with it is that it's not a bad book by any means. This little thing poking out behind me, there's a no. That's what that is. The biggest issue I have with this is that most of it takes place in the past. We don't see these two women actually falling for each other or like having any of like the like cute romantic tension moments. It's all just them like reconciling, which is fine and it's needed for the story, but it's not fun to read really because they've known each other for so long. It's like all of the romance that we're getting is in the past. So it's just kind of them like reminiscing on things. And like even some of the sex scenes are like them like thinking back to what happened in the past, which is just like a little off-putting, but it also makes it so that we don't see them actually connecting. We don't see them like falling for each other because that's already happened. They've been in love with each other this whole time. So it's like everything that like builds up the relationship and like makes them fall for each other and become in love with each other, it's already happened. We're only seeing it in flashbacks, and everything that's happening like present day in the story, it's just them like reconciling, which again is fine, but it didn't make for a very compelling story. And also these characters are kind of insufferable. Like they're not awful, but Brighton is like very much a pushover. She just kind of like lets things happen to her, and she is just like so held back by her fears. And it's not until like the very like end of the book that we see her start to overcome that. And then Charlotte is just not a very nice person, and like understandably given like her upbringing and everything that's happened to her, but like she pushes everyone away. She doesn't let anyone get close to her. She's a bad friend, and like she does come to realize that, but it takes so long that it's just like not really enjoyable. And also Christmas is like not a big part of this book, and it's one of my issues with a lot of holiday romances is it'll be like set at Christmas time. It's just set in the winter, and like Christmas happens to fall during the events of the book, but Christmas itself is like not a big deal. Like the day of Christmas comes and goes, like no hurrah or anything, and like that's a little disappointing, especially like when you're marketed as a holiday romance. A little disappointing. Now I did really enjoy all of the like fun like Two Turtle Doves events that were happening. Those were fun, but because they were kind of like the backdrop for these two having their issues, they weren't as fleshed out as I would have liked. And there is a good friend group, and like I enjoyed them, but they like weren't great. Especially, oh my god, Adele, Brighton's best friend, she was pissing me off the whole time because every single sentence that she spoke, she would always refer to Brighton as baby girl. So she'd be like, oh baby girl, come here, like tell me how your day was. Oh baby girl, don't worry about it. It was like so repetitive to the point that it was like insufferable. I did not enjoy it, and I think it was like done to show her being like this caring, comforting presence, but like it was not done well. It was so overdone, and it was just like annoying. And I don't know, I didn't love it. It kind of made me angry. And also at the end, like everything just kind of like falls apart, but like you're supposed to be like, no, this is what they needed, and it's like everything they worked so hard for has now been completely diminished. Like it just was not what I wanted it to be, and I'm really disappointed because again, I love this cover. I think it's so stunning, but I was just really disappointed. And honestly, I feel like these two characters, they've only ever been with each other. They've never dated anyone else, either of them. And so it's like, I don't understand. And also, it's like the whole point of this book is that they were engaged 5 years ago, fell apart, and now here we are 5 years later, they're getting back together. The book ends, and when they're in like the same place that they were when like before the book started. And it's like, this whole book just felt pointless. I didn't like it. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. Like it was fine. I liked the setting. The setting I really enjoyed, and I liked like the musical background that both characters had. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like their relationship involved so much compromise from both of them that I just don't know. Like they're a couple that I feel like I can't see them staying together, you know? But I finished it. fine, but it also, like, it wasn't super holiday-esque. Like, yes, we had, like, those, like, 2 turtle doves events happening, but they were, like, such a small part of the plot that I just didn't love it. But now I am going to be picking up Kiss Her Once for Me. And again, I've heard a lot of great things about this one. I feel like every Christmas and like every December, people are recommending this book. And so I'm quite excited. For the longest time, I thought this was a straight romance because of the character illustration. But it is in fact sapphic, but it also involves fake dating. So like there's one character who's fake dating this guy, but then ends up falling for that guy's sister who she like has been in love with since the past Christmas. So that's what I know about this. But this one is kind of like a Christmas staple. So I am hoping that this one is better and kind of like a redemption for me. But I'm looking forward to this. And I feel like this one might have like the melancholy that I'm looking for, especially in like the post-Christmas, pre-New Year's time period. I feel like this one might hit on that, but we'll have to see. Because it does say now over one very festive week. And so I feel like that is giving very similar to this, but that's one of the parts I enjoyed about this. So we will just have to see. But I'm also hoping that like Christmas is like more of like an actual big deal here, but we won't know until we start. So let's just get started. Also, I picked one of the only like festive bookmarks that I have. It's this like red plaid one. It kind of matches the tree, cutie. Okay, I'm just going to start this and hope that it does not let me down in the same way Make the Season Bright did. Okay, I've read the first 50 pages and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm really liking the writing. This follows Ellie, and she is very down on her luck. She went to school in Ohio at Ohio State, and now she lives in Portland. And she moved to Portland to follow her dream of being a character animator, and she got a job at like this really fancy animation studio. However, she got fired from this job, and we don't yet know why she got fired, but that kind of sent her life spiraling. So she now works at this, she's a barista at this little like cafe, and she does not like working there. This is like not her dream. She's also not making enough money to pay her rent. Her rent is increasing in January. So everything's kind of going wrong in like the life plan that she had for herself. And also she does not have a very good relationship with her mother, who is always like calling her and asking for money. And it's just like, she's not a mother. She is just kind of like this annoying presence in her life. But Ellie still like wants that intimacy of like a mother-daughter relationship. She just doesn't have it. And she feels very alone because her best friend lives in a different state and she is just single, kind of struggling to get by in Portland. And she's friends with the other barista at this cafe. However, she's working one day and the landlord of that cafe comes in and hears her talking about how much she hates her job and hates working in this shithole of a place with her dickweed of a boss. And he's like, oh, wow, okay. But she's having a really rough time. She also has like quite severe anxiety. However, she ends up going for drinks with this guy because like her life can't get any worse. So she's like, sure, why not? And while she's out with him, he reveals to her that he is like super rich, like the son of like this, like he's just very wealthy. He owns or is like the heir to this like huge real estate corporation. So he's got a lot of money. And he reveals to her that his inheritance of $2 million cannot be given to him until he's married. And he proposes a fake marriage with Ellie. And she's like, absolutely not. Like, we're not doing that. She's like, I can't even fathom. Like, he says that he'd give her 10%, so $200,000. She's like, I can't even picture that much money. Like, this, no. However, clearly what's going to happen is they're going to end up fake dating to get the inheritance. And things are going to progress from there. However, this last Christmas Eve, she met this woman and spent the entire day with this woman, and she like she's also demisexual, so she needs like a very intimate emotional bond with someone in order to feel romantically connected to them. And surprisingly, this woman that she met and only spent one day with, she had that, and she's kind of been like reminiscing and like missing this woman for the whole year. And as Christmas Eve is approaching again, she is starting to like really think back on that. And it's revealed in the synopsis that that woman is this guy's sister. So I'm having a great time. I really think that this is going to hit on like the melancholy aspect, like I said, because her mom, like, she doesn't have a good relationship, so she's going to be alone for the holiday until she ends up with this guy. So I'm having a really great time so far. I'm really liking the writing. Ellie as a character, I'm hoping that we see some growth with her, because right now she's, I don't want to say insufferable, but she's just kind of like, she's just very down on her luck, very anxious, and she's not really doing anything to kind of like better her situation. So I'm hoping that we see some changes there, but so far I'm really enjoying this. Hello, I'm coming at you tonight in my pajamas. It is like 10:30 p.m. Today is the day before Christmas Eve, so Christmas Eve, if you will. And it is like my family's tradition that my grandma comes over and we do all of our cookie baking and decorating today. So it has been a very, very long day and I am exhausted. I made 2 new recipes this year. I did a molasses gingerbread cookie with a maple glaze, and then a chocolate thumbprint cookie with a chocolate ganache filling, and they were both absolutely delicious. I'm gonna leave the recipes linked because truly they turned out wonderfully and were very easy recipes, so highly recommend. But in between all of the cooking and baking and everything today, I did finish Kiss Her Once for Me, and I really enjoyed this. I definitely like this much more than Make the Season Bright. I think just because the characters had so much growth on their own and as a couple, and also just like were not nearly as insufferable as those two. But I did really enjoy this. The fake dating aspect, I don't think that fake dating is really like my trope. I don't think it's really for me. And I think especially because so many sapphic romances like fall into the fake dating trope. And it's like, I want something new. I want something different. Give me something unique, you know? And this was unique in like the way that it went about it. But I don't think fake dating is really for me, which is good to know moving forward. But I did have a really good time with this. I really loved Ellie and Jack, and I really loved them together, especially because even though they like kind of fell in love in one day, they talk about like how crazy that is and how that like normally wouldn't happen for them, but they just like got so close so quickly, and like they continue to like talk, and we actually see them like having conversations and like talking through all of the like emotions they're experiencing. Like Jack mentioned several times, she was like, we are not doing this like miscommunication thing. That is for straight people. We are two powerful queer women and we are going to talk this through. And I just really like that, because it's like you clearly have all of these emotions for each other and like all of these problems keeping you apart. Just talk it through. And they did, and I really enjoyed that. And like obviously there was still conflict, but we at least like knew what each character was feeling. And this is not dual POV, so we did not get Jack's perspective, only Ellie's, and it still worked so well. Like there were times I was like, oh, I wish I knew what like Jack was thinking, but we were still able to see that through the way that she was depicted, and I loved it. Also, Jack is a butch lesbian. Thank you for the butch representation. A lot of times sapphic romances are like femme, which is fine. Love the representation there too, but like seeing a butch, and also this cover does not do the characters justice. This is supposed to be Jack. That is not at all how she is described to be looking, especially because Jack and her whole family are Korean American, and this not getting that. So don't love the cover depiction of the character. And that's something that I don't love in romances, is that when they put the characters on the cover, sometimes in my head I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to be picturing the character as, but then the way the character is described is not this. Now I will say, Make the Season Bright, that cover, character art was beautiful, loved it. This, not so much, but I really liked the plot. I liked seeing the characters kind of like fall together and fall apart, but then also like build themselves back up. And we did get the like post-Christmas like melancholy that I was hoping for, not quite in the same way. And this did the same thing as Make the Season Bright, where we like have like the fun build up to Christmas, and then Christmas Day we get like nothing, which like I understand, but didn't love it. However, because Ellie ends up going with Jack's brother to like their family Christmas, we see a lot of like the family traditions of like making cookies and like decorating the tree and like going skiing, and like that was really fun, especially because Andrew, Jack's brother, who Ellie has to fake date, I really like his whole family dynamic and like everything going on there. And so there was just a lot going on with like him and his love, like actual love interest, and like the whole family. So there was a lot of plot happening outside of just our main romance, and I really enjoyed that. Also, this book, like even says in the acknowledgements that this is a book about failure and about the fear of failure, and seeing Ellie kind of overcome that. Really loved that. Like there were just so many things in here that I really liked, and each of these characters was so strong on their own. And we didn't need dual POV to get that. We could just like see it from Ellie's perspective, and I loved it. I had a great time with this. I'm thinking this one's like a 3.5, 4-star, just because there were times where I was like, I feel like we're taking a very long time to get where we're going. But I did have a very good time. Much preferred this to Make the Season Bright, but I truly just don't think that fake dating is really for me, especially because there were so many times where it was like, just tell the truth. Like, because obviously Ellie's in love with Jack, but she's fake dating Jack's brother, Andrew. And so they're having all of these issues where it's like Jack feels really guilty for being in love with Ellie while that's like her brother's fiance. And it's like, if Ellie would have just told her like, hey, this is what, like, obviously there's reasons why she can't, but like if she did, we would have like solved a lot of those problems a lot faster. And so as the reader, that's just a bit upsetting when you know exactly what's going on and you know why they can't talk about it, but like they're not talking about it. So didn't love that. I think that just means that fake dating just like isn't the trope for me, but I did really have a good time with this. I really want to pick up more things from this author because I loved her writing. It was so fun, and I found myself just like wanting to keep reading this. And so it's like when I had a tray of cookies in the oven, I would like read a few pages. When I was waiting for cookies to cool, I was reading a few pages because I just wanted to keep going. And I just had like so much fun with this, and I feel like that's what I needed, because especially after Make the Season Bright, I really had to like force myself through that because I did not care, and like it was like work to read this. This was fun, and I really had such a great time with this, because even though we're experiencing Ellie going through all of these like awful things, and like she's really down on her luck, like kind of her own fault at points, it was just so fun to read, especially because all of the like surrounding characters were really great. So would highly recommend this. It is a really good holiday romance, I feel like, because we get like the lead up, and we don't get as much actual Christmas, but then we also get like after the New Year's and everything, and I really quite liked that aspect. So that being said, I think that the other two things that I have left are also fake dating. And so I'm needing a little break from that. Like, I think that I want to give it another try, just because the two that this one was like done in like an interesting circumstance. So I would be willing to give it another try. I want a little break from it. So the only other thing that I have physically that's not fake dating is a YA romance, Love in Winter Wonderland by Abiola Bello. And this is, like I said, a YA romance. And it's these two characters who work at this bookstore, but the bookstore is on the brink of getting shut down. So they have to work together to keep it open. And also, like, the cover is stunning. And then the end papers are really pretty. Like, I really love this. So I'm very excited about this. And it looks like there's different like songs like as the chapter titles. So I'm really actually quite excited for this, especially because it's very different. And also we have characters of color written by an author of color. So very excited about this. And I don't love sex scenes in my romance books. I feel like unless they are there to like help further the plot and like show emotional growth and connection between the characters, I often just find myself skimming over them. Like, I don't really care. They like take me out of the story, which is why I really like this, because there was only like one or two, and they were showing like the emotional connection and like trust between the characters. So I enjoyed that. But this, because it's YA, I don't think we'll get that as much, and it'll probably be like more tension build up to like them actually even kissing. So really looking forward to this. Also, it's just so cutie. And I did get the audiobook for this just because obviously tomorrow's Christmas Eve and we are hosting at my house for the first time ever. So a lot's gonna be going on. So it's Christmas Eve and then Christmas, obviously. So I don't know how much time I'll have to read in the next few days, but like, to me, Christmas doesn't end on Christmas Day. It ends like at the end of December for me personally, and just like how I like to celebrate. But I'm excited for this. And I do think, because I still have Love You a Lot Cut and I'll Get Back to You, which I think are both also fake dating, which is crazy that there's like so many books with fake dating. Are people like really that into it that there's that many? I don't know, but I am really excited for this, and I'm excited to have the audiobook as well. I read this one fully physically, and if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I pretty much exclusively read physically with the audiobook. It just helps me like lock in and really get into it. So excited to have the audiobook for this one as well. But like I said, it is like 10:30 p.m. So, and we're gonna have a busy day again tomorrow. So I don't know that I'll be able to update you at all because there's gonna be a lot going on, but at the very least, I'll update you hopefully at night, and then it'll be Christmas and that'll be crazy. So I guess I will see you soon, hopefully. Good morning and happy December 26th. I have not talked to you in a few days, but Christmas Eve was wonderful. Like I said, we were hosting here for the first time ever, and it was wonderful. It truly was magical and very festive, and had a great time. And now we have leftovers. It truly just, we didn't really know what to expect because again, we've never hosted here before, but it was wonderful. So I didn't end up reading anything on Christmas Eve because it was a little bit hectic, as you can imagine, hosting. And then Christmas Day was also wonderful, very magical. I just love getting to spend time with my family, so really great time. But the way we do it in my family is like we sleep in, wake up, open like our stockings, and then get breakfast and like take our time and then do presents. So it really takes like the whole day. But then in the afternoon, evening, I did manage to start Love in Winter Wonderland. And I got like 100 pages in exactly, and I'm having a very good time with this. Now, I will say, I experienced quite a bit of confusion with this book because I knew it was YA, but I started reading it and they were talking about being in college, and I was like, oh, maybe it's like upper YA, like if it's like their first year in college, like verging into like new adult. And then I was like, okay, but then they said that they were only 17. So like, okay, so not college as I know it. And then there was like this spelling of a few words, and I was like, maybe the author's Canadian and so we're set in Canada. I was like, that would make sense. But then there were just a few things where I was like, something's not adding up. And so I looked at the author like profile, I guess, at the back to see if it said anything about her being Canadian. It says as a British Nigerian author from London. And I said, okay, now the pieces are clicking into place because this is set in London, England. So then I got the audiobook just to kind of help solidify some things for me. And yes, they do all have like English accents, which honestly, very fun reading experience to have the accents in there because it just makes some of like the like slang and just like the way they talk, it just makes it kind of work a little bit better for me. But I'm having a very good time with this. So we follow Trey and Ariel, and Trey's family owns the oldest Black-owned bookstore in London. However, they are kind of starting to lose money, and like the bookstore's not doing as well because a chain bookstore has opened like just down the street, and so they're like losing a lot of customers to the prices that they can't compete with in that bookstore. And so Trey is really, he does not want to take over, but his family kind of expects that from him, so he's kind of dealing with like that pressure. And then we follow Ariel, and she is an artist. She just wants to go to this art school. However, the tuition is crazy expensive, and she has a single mom because her dad just died, and it's her and her brother. And so she is really struggling to figure out how she's going to pay for this, but she doesn't want to put that all on her mom. So she ends up going to the bookstore and seeing if she can get a job. However, the timing isn't great and things really go wrong. And so she's put in like kind of like a tough position. And also her and Trey kind of have like some tension between them because the way they met, they're kind of like in a friend, because I realized college is like high school, and that made a lot of things make more sense. But like they're kind of like, there's a central friend group and Ariel's kind of like on the outside of that, so she like knows Trey tangentially, and they like, don't really get along at first because Trey's just kind of like in a bad mood with everything going on with him, and so Ariel's kind of like put off by him, but then they end up having to work together, and it's just like very tense, not like romantically, but like they don't really get along, and so they're like, oh, I don't really know how this is gonna work. But then as we progress, Ariel makes it very clear, like from her, because it's dual perspective, that she used to have a crush on Trey, but she like thought that it went away and that she was fine, and now that she's spending more time with him, she's like, oh, maybe it didn't go away. And Trey has a girlfriend who's like kind of awful, but like he's clearly unhappy in the relationship, and he like gets drunk at a party one night and like kind of like caresses Ariel's face, and she's like, what's going on here? So that's where I'm at so far, but I'm having a great time with it. And like I said, the end papers on this are absolutely stunning, and I just think it's so cute. So I'm having a really fun time. It is YA, and so it's definitely reading a little bit younger, and like some of the dialogue isn't my favorite, but I am having a really good time with it. And I originally thought that this one wasn't necessarily Christmas, but was just set in the winter, because I don't think that the description actually mentions anything about Christmas, but each of the chapters, as like a day goes by, it'll say like 14 days till Christmas, because Christmas is kind of like the deadline for the bookshop doing well, because especially leading up to the Christmas season, they should be seeing an increase in sales, not a decrease like they are seeing. However, each chapter has like, from each perspective, it'll say like Trey's playlist or Ariel's playlist, and it'll have a Christmas song by a Black artist. So I'm just having a lot of fun with this, and Ariel is a plus size main character, and she's just like super fun because she's very creative, but she is also kind of shy, and so we're seeing her like come out of her shell. And then Trey is like one of the popular kids, and he's dating this girl, mainly because she is also popular, but he's also miserable in that relationship. So I'm curious to see how that's all going to play out, but I'm having a lot of fun with this, and it reads very quickly, especially with the audiobook. So I'm just going to keep reading and hope that it continues to be enjoyable, because I'm really liking it, because I like my romances, I've realized, with a decent amount of plot outside of just the couple and their romance. And this, like having to save the bookshop together, is really doing that for me, and I'm really having a very good time with it. And also, this cover is just so cutesy. So having a very good time, and I hope that it continues on that path. Okay, hello yet again. It is now December 27th. Today was Christmas with my dad's side of the family, and so that is actually the end of my family Christmas festivities. I still have like a few Christmas like crafty things I want to do, but I haven't read anything today. But last night I did finish Love in Winter Wonderland, and I think the best way to describe this is like a young adult Hallmark movie, because it has like the typical Hallmark, there's like some kind of issue and they have to work to like resolve that issue, and you know it's gonna get solved by the end of the movie or book, and in the process two characters fall in love, and that's exactly what happens here. Trey and Ariel have to work together to save this family bookshop, and you know they're going to, but you don't know like what's gonna happen on the way there. And also, in line with a Hallmark movie, they don't really get together until like the very end of the book, and even then, very much like a Hallmark movie, they just share like a chaste kiss, and then like the implication is that they like work on their relationship from there, like in a Hallmark movie where it takes the whole movie for them to admit their feelings and then finally like share that kiss that like ends the movie. That's exactly what this was, and I really enjoyed it. It was very juvenile, like it's on the younger end of YA, and I think part of that is because, if I'm understanding correctly from the like author blurb in the back here, it seems like this is this author's first foray into young adult from middle grade, and so I think that explains some of like the juvenile aspects of it. But it was still really fun, and Ariel and Trey are both really great characters, and it does deal with some heavier topics, specifically on Ariel's end, because her dad has just died of cancer, and so this is her family's first Christmas without him, so there's like the grief aspect, and then also she struggles with binge eating, and so there are conversations about that and like self-consciousness and just like her and her relationship with her body. And then on Trey's end, they're both Black characters, and so they do talk about, mostly from Trey's perspective, like how the Black Lives Matter movement was kind of just like a moment in time, and like how there were so many eyes on Black owned businesses and how that's kind of like faded away, and how a lot of Black owned businesses thought that that was going to be like their boom and like that was going to really help them, and then that just completely died down. And so there's conversations about that in here, but then also how important Black owned businesses are for like the community and as community spaces, not just as like stores. And so I did really enjoy this. I had a great time, and I am interested in reading other things from this author. I think she has 2 other YA romances that sound quite interesting, so I will definitely be keeping my eye out for her, because I had a lot of fun with this, and it didn't feel as Christmassy as some of the other ones, because it ends like they are just like an investor that's like trying to buy their family business, and he's like, my offer expires 6 p.m. Christmas Eve, and so the book ends Christmas Eve night, and so we don't actually see Christmas happening, but there's things like they decorate the bookstore for Christmas, and they have like a Christmas like craft market thing that they go to, and so there are Christmassy things. It's just not super Christmassy, but I did have a lot of fun with this. I really liked the relationship between the 2 characters and how they were both imperfect, but they kind of like worked through those things. And especially because Trey, for the most of the book, has a girlfriend, I like that they didn't immediately just like start dating at the end. Like they have conversations about like wanting to take it slow, and how like they don't really want to like jump into anything too soon. So I really enjoyed this, and I had a great time with it. And that is the 4th Christmas romance that I've read so far. And I was going to end it there, but today when I was with my family, I got a notification from Libby that my hold for the audiobook of Love You a Lot Cut came in. So I'm thinking that I'm going to start this either tonight or tomorrow morning and see if I like get into it, and then go from there if I want to read this year or save it for next year, because I'm like quite picky with romances. I don't love all of them, and there's a lot that I just like have no interest in. And so the fact that like these are the Christmas romances that I pulled for myself, I'm worried that I'm going to read all of them this year and then have nothing for next year. So I'm debating on whether, because I still have this one and I'll get back to you, check out like physically from the library, and so I'm wondering if I should read them this year or save them for next year. But I will start this because I do have the audiobook, so I'll give it a start and see if I want to read this year or save it again for next year. But we'll have to see, because this is a Hanukkah romance, and Hanukkah ended before Christmas Day, so I feel like I should have started here potentially, but I think this one also might be fake dating. So I don't know. Yeah, fake dating. And I just don't know if I'm in the mood for that right now, but I do love this cover. So like I said, I'm gonna give it a try and go from there. But my next update is either going to be, okay, I've gotten into this and I'm gonna keep going, or yeah, this is where this vlog is ending. So I guess I will see you again tomorrow. Either way. Surprise, I'm back in the shirt from the intro. It looks like it is the exact same day. But I decided that I actually did not want to read another fake dating romance, and so I didn't even start the audiobook. I was just like, I don't want that right now. So I don't know if fake dating just isn't for me, or if I just don't want to read that many all back to back. Something to explore further. And like I mentioned in the intro, I had said that in the new year I was planning something to help me get my toes wet in the romance genre and figure out what I really like. So I'll be keeping this in mind as we move into that secret project that I'll be working on. But that means I did read 4 holiday romances this year, which is more than I've ever read before, so I'm very excited. And I found some things that I do really enjoy in romance. So I have the 3 physical things here, and I'm going to rank them on how much I like my enjoyment, and then also festivity for the holidays. So obviously, first and foremost, Kiss Her Once for Me by Alison Cochrane. I gave this one 4 stars. I really love this. I also really love that we had butch representation, especially because there were a lot of things in here that just like aren't mentioned in a lot of romances. Like our butch character Jack like doesn't shave, and so like we have depictions of like them having hairy legs and just like having things that you don't see in most romances. And also saying that, I hate this cover. Like the cover itself isn't bad, but this is supposed to be our butch lesbian Jack. That is not the character depicted in this novel, so I don't love what's happening here. But the book itself, I absolutely really like. I really enjoyed this, and I found myself like just continuously thinking about it. And I think it's because it's one of the only romances I've ever read that features a butch love interest, and I just really enjoyed that, and I want to see more of that. So that's definitely something I'll be seeking out with my foray into romance, because this was really wonderful. I also just really enjoyed the writing. I didn't love the character of Ellie as much. I thought she was just a little bit like waiting for things to fall into her lap rather than like going out and like getting things for herself, which like is something that's explored in here. But I want 2 very like go get 'em characters, and that was Jack, but I just wanted something a little bit better for her. Just gonna say it. But I did have a lot of fun with this, and I will be keeping my eye on Alison Cochrane and other things that she's written. I know she wrote like a male romance. Not really interested in reading that one. I think it also has to do with like reality dating or something, but I'll definitely be keeping my eye on what she does in the future, because I really enjoyed this and give it 4 stars. Next in my ranking is Love in Winter Wonderland, which I gave 3.5 stars. This, I think it's truly, this is like a YA Hallmark movie. It was so fun and like very low stakes, and also like there is one kiss in this book, and I really enjoy that. And I think it's really good, especially for young adult readers, to have a romance like this where there's clearly still like the pining and the tension and like the fun like backdrop setting for everything that happens, and also 2 characters of color, one being a plus size main character, falling in love and experiencing love and having those things. So I really had a very good time with this. I loved the setting of the bookstore. I didn't love this one just because I think this author needs to spend more time in the YA genre and like really find her feet in that genre rather than middle grade, which is what she'd been writing. And so this does read a little juvenile at points, but I still had a lot of fun with it, and it was truly like just so magical is really what it felt like. It truly was like a Hallmark movie of a book, and like that is just so fun and like perfect for especially this time of year. So I had a lot of fun with this. Then something I didn't have as much fun with, Make the Season Bright, which I gave 3 stars, and honestly I'm considering bumping it down a little, but like I didn't hate it, and I really loved a lot of like the setting and like the actual plot itself. I just did not like either of our 2 main characters, which then makes enjoying a romance really hard when the characters are the things like you're supposed to be rooting for them. You want them to get together, and I didn't really want that. I think what made it really hard for me to like this is that these 2 characters never experienced a relationship outside of each other. They have only ever dated each other, and like they've tried to like have like hookups and things, but they always find themselves coming back to each other, which is like cute and everything, but it also just feels like you haven't like experienced anything. And so I just feel like also they were just a little bit insufferable, both of them, in different ways. So yeah, 3 stars. might get bumped down. I don't know. I didn't really enjoy it. Like, it was fine. I, again, really enjoyed the setting, and we'll talk about that more when I do my ranking of, like, most festive to least festive. This one was fun. I just didn't like the characters, which then makes it really hard to rate it highly. And then coming in last, obviously, is A Pack for Winter, because again, I hated these characters, but also there was nothing going on in the plot because it was much more erotic than I thought it was going to be. And like, that's on me fully. I completely take responsibility for that, but I just did not know what I was getting myself into. And had I known, I would not have picked this one up, and I would have picked something else from my list. But I read it, I give it 2 stars. It was fine. I will not read anything else in that series, and I don't know that I'll read anything else from that author, but I did read that one. And do I regret it? No, because I was entertained. It was entertaining. It just wasn't enjoyable. So that is my ranking of enjoyment, but now I'm going to do a ranking of like festivities and how much I feel like each one is like true like holiday romance rather than just like a romance set in December, if that makes sense. Okay, so for that ranking, actually surprisingly, Make the Season Bright is coming in first, just because I feel like this one really did a lot of like Christmassy things. Like, we did cookie decorating, and we did like Christmas movie trivia, and there was like hot chocolate drinking, and we like had Christmas like with the family. It just felt very Christmassy, which is what I was looking for, and I did really enjoy that aspect. Like, I really liked all of the different like little like 2 turtle doves dating activities they did. That's where a lot of my enjoyment came from, was like what was going on around them. And like, they got snowed in and like got trapped in like a ski lodge. Like, I just really enjoyed those things, and it made it very festive and very fun to read, especially as it was like snowing around me. Really enjoyed the setting and like some of the plot points of this and the side characters, just not our 2 main characters. And then similarly, coming in next is Kiss Her Once for Me, because this one, Ellie goes to Jack's family's Christmas and like does all of the Christmas things with them. So like, we see them like doing like making the cookies and like putting up the tree, going out and getting their tree, and just like doing all of these fun like family Christmas traditions, and just like the like cozy atmosphere of like having Christmas dinner with your family. Even though there's a lot of like drama going on, it just really had like that cozy, heartwarming Christmas feeling that I was looking for. But it also had some of the like post-Christmas melancholy that I feel like I was looking for without even really knowing it, because this one then focuses on like a Christmas past, but then also like the time after Christmas, where our main character is alone, and so she's feeling that melancholy of like, wow, the new year's coming, I want to get myself together, but like I'm still like reminiscing on the past. And so I really enjoyed a lot of what was going on in here. Then coming in third, I have Love in Winter Wonderland. This one, it wasn't not Christmassy, but it wasn't nearly as Christmassy as the other 2, mainly because we don't see a lot of Christmas activities happening. Like, we decorate the bookstore for Christmas, and it's like winter is happening, and they're in London, so it's like wintry. But there's only really like 1 or 2 actual like Christmas events. One being that there's like this like Christmas like craft show type thing at like the Grotto, they call it, where there's like marshmallow roasting and like different vendors selling like holiday cards and things, which like that was really fun. And then also they do like a Christmas Eve showcase through the bookstore, which I also really enjoyed that. But those were the only 2 like holiday things happening. It was really just because the bookstore's like deadline was Christmas Eve to like get enough money to keep running. And so like, there just wasn't a whole lot going on, but there was enough for it to be like, okay, yes, I see why this is a holiday romance. But I also think that you could read it any time during the year. Like, obviously I feel like winter makes the most sense, but you could really read this any time of the year, and it wouldn't be like, okay, this is a Christmas romance. So do with that information what you will. And then coming in last place is A Pack for Winter. This, I think also I was led astray, because this is not a holiday romance. Does Christmas occur in this book? Yes. Is it a big deal? Not in the slightest. Even the title, A Pack for Winter, like, they just meet in the winter. And I think there's a really big missed opportunity for this to be like a super fun Christmassy romance, because our main character is a teacher. We could see her like doing Christmas things with her class, because a lot of like the internal struggle that the main character, the female main character, is having is from the stress of being a teacher and like trying to make things magical for her students. So we could have seen more of that, and it would have been really easily implemented into the plot, and we just didn't. So it was really disappointing. There wasn't even like that much like wintry things happening. So I don't know, this one was just a flop for me all around. But those are my official rankings in 2 different categories for these 4 books. So do with this information what you will. I will probably be back here again next year reading some of the other things for my list, because I did have a really good time, and I do feel like this put me in like the holiday mood. So overall, this video was a success. I found some things maybe I don't love in romance and some things I want to explore further, while also getting into the holiday spirit. So catch me here again next year doing the same thing, but also catch me throughout the whole rest of the year doing fun things like this. And I hope to see you in another video again sooner than next Christmas. But thank you so much for being here. If you have any recommendations of holiday, Christmassy, or just like other winter holiday romances, I would love to hear them, because there's so many out there that it's hard to like parse through and find like the good ones, if that makes any sense. Like, I want ones that actually like have the Christmas spirit. If I'm wanting to read a Christmas romance, I want Christmas, you know? So if you have any where you feel like the couples are really strong or just like the atmosphere is really good, please let me know. But otherwise, I hope you like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in another video again soon. Bye.